Welcome back, lifers, to another episode of Life Points with Rhonda. And I'm back to discuss a documentary I recently watched on Netflix, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one left puzzled and traumatized for the victims. What happened to them was extremely horrific. However, the way they were treated by the police department handling their case was even more disturbing. So let's dive right in and discuss Unraveling the Neglected Truths, the Vallejo Kidnapping and Police Missteps. In the quiet neighborhood of Vallejo, California, a story unfolded that seemed straight out of a crime thriller. Denise Huskins and her then-boyfriend Quinn experienced what can only be described as an unimaginable nightmare. A harrowing kidnapping that would later become the subject of Netflix's docuseries, American Nightmare. Late one evening, the couple's world turned upside down. Huskins was violently abducted from the home she shared with Quinn, setting off a series of events that would capture national attention. In the beginning, their plea for help seemed like a straightforward case of a dire emergency requiring immediate law enforcement intervention. However, the reality they faced was starkly different. From the outset, the couple's account of the incident was met with skepticism by the Vallejo Police Department. The authorities, instead of springing into action with the urgency the situation demanded, chose to doubt the victim's story. This disbelief and inaction would later be a critical point of contention, sparking a discussion about police accountability and the handling of such sensitive cases. In the days following the abduction, rather than finding solace in the arms of justice, Huskins and Quinn found themselves entangled in a web of public scrutiny and shame. The police publicly insinuated that their ordeal was a fabrication, a hoax orchestrated for reasons unknown. This accusation added a layer of psychological trauma to their already devastating experience. The ordeal of Huskins and Quinn is a chilling reminder of the consequences of prejudicial assumptions in law enforcement. Their story raises uncomfortable but necessary questions about the handling of kidnapping cases and the quickness to doubt victims, an attitude that can have far-reaching implications. On a night that seemed like any other in Vallejo, Denise Huskins and Quinn's lives were forever altered. The details of their experience read like a chilling script from a crime drama, but for Huskins and Quinn, the terror was all too real. In the early hours, under the cover of darkness, an intruder broke into their home. Huskins was forcefully taken, leaving Quinn in a state of shock and disbelief. The kidnappers' demands were clear: a ransom for Huskins' safe return. Quinn, overwhelmed by fear and desperation, reached out to the Vallejo Police Department, expecting a swift and supportive response. The police response. However, the response Quinn received was far from what he anticipated. The police, upon hearing their account, expressed doubts about the veracity of their story. This skepticism from the authorities wasn't just a mere hiccup in the process, it was a full-blown dismissal of their ordeal. The couple, who had just endured one of the most traumatic experiences imaginable, found themselves in a battle to prove the reality of their nightmare. Public doubt and scrutiny. As the investigation proceeded at a frustratingly slow pace, public speculation grew. The police's doubts were not kept behind closed doors. Instead, they spilled out into the public domain, casting Huskins and Quinn as possible perpetrators rather than victims. This public shaming added an unbearable weight to their already heavy burden. The Vallejo Police Department's handling of Huskins and Quinn's case is a stark example of how preconceived notions and biases can cloud judgment. The failure to take the victim's account seriously not only hindered the investigation, but also compounded the trauma experienced by Huskins and Quinn. The turning point. The case of Denise Huskins and Quinn took a dramatic turn, leading from despair and disbelief to a pivotal breakthrough. This section of the story marked a significant transition from uncertainty to the unveiling of a startling truth, the breakthrough. The major turning point came not from the ongoing efforts of the Vallejo police, but rather from a seemingly unrelated incident. 40 miles away from the couple's home, a similar crime scene was discovered. It was this chance discovery that finally led to a connection with Huskins and Quinn's case. The arrest of Matthew Muller. The link between the two cases brought the police to Matthew Muller, a figure whose background as a former Marine and disbarred Harvard-educated attorney made his involvement in the crime all the more baffling. Muller was arrested and later pleaded guilty to one count of federal kidnapping in 2016. His capture brought a semblance of closure to a case that had been marred by missteps and controversy. Lingering questions. Despite the resolution brought about by Muller's arrest, Huskins and Quinn were left with unanswered questions. The motive behind their targeting remained a mystery, a haunting uncertainty that lingered long after the case was closed. In a recent interview with People ahead of the release of Netflix's American Nightmare, the couple expressed their resignation to the fact that some questions might never be answered. This turning point in the Vallejo kidnapping case highlights the importance of diligence and open-mindedness in police investigations. It underscores the need for law enforcement to explore all avenues even when they lead to unexpected places. Police reforms and changes. The Vallejo kidnapping case not only highlighted critical failings in the initial police response, but also served as a catalyst for discussions about broader reforms in law enforcement practices. This section explores the changes and advancements in policing that emerged in the wake of high-profile cases like this one. Reforms post-high-profile cases. The aftermath of the George Floyd case, among others, has led to significant reforms in various police departments. Cities like Austin and Los Angeles pledged to redirect police funding towards community programs. San Francisco introduced crisis response teams for behavioral health emergencies, reducing reliance on police intervention in such scenarios. These changes represent a shift towards a more community-centric approach in law enforcement. Lessons from past mistakes. The O.J. Simpson case taught valuable lessons about evidence handling and forensic work. Post-trial, the LAPD revamped its scientific investigation division, emphasizing accuracy and integrity in evidence management. This transformation was a direct response to the shortcomings exposed during the trial, highlighting the importance of constant learning and improvement in policing. Independent Investigations and Transparency Human Rights Watch has advocated for independent investigations of police misconduct. This recommendation aims to ensure impartiality and thorough scrutiny in cases of police wrongdoing. The emphasis on transparency and accountability is seen as crucial in rebuilding public trust in law enforcement agencies, a shift back to community policing. The shift in focus from a militarized to a community policing approach marks a significant change in law enforcement strategy. This transition, catalyzed by incidents like the shooting of Michael Brown Jr., underscores the need for a policing style that prioritizes community engagement and trust building over an aggressive, force-oriented approach. For those of you who haven't watched this unsettling documentary, many would like to know how the kidnapping actually happened. Muller broke into Huskins and Quinn's home on Mare Island in Vallejo, California, between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. on March 23, 2015. He used a stun gun and a simulated gun with a laser attached to order the victims to the ground, where he bound and blindfolded them with blackened swim goggles before forcing them to drink sedative. Muller also played a pre-recorded message indicating that not following the commands would lead to physical punishment or electric shock. He then put Huskins into the trunk of his vehicle, which he drove to his residence in South Lake Tahoe. Huskins said Muller forced her to have sex with him twice, which he videotaped while she was held in captivity at the cabin. During this time, he also sent 2 emails to Quinn demanding a ransom of $17,000. Muller released Huskins in Huntington Beach on March 25, 2015, with no ransom ever being paid. While Huskins was missing, a Vallejo Police Department detective questioned Quinn for hours, at times suggesting Quinn was involved with Huskins' disappearance, according to video footage of the interrogation aired in American Nightmare. The day Huskins was released, the department said in a statement investigators had found no evidence of a kidnapping and accused Huskins and Quinn of faking the abduction. Quinn and Huskins' case remained unsolved until the Dublin Police Services of the Alameda County Sheriff's Department arrested Muller on charges from a separate home invasion case on June 8, 2015, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. In the Dublin home invasion, a couple had been tied up while Muller attempted to abduct their daughter, where investigators found a cell phone they later traced to Muller, according to authorities. Dublin police searched Muller's South Lake Tahoe cabin and located evidence related to Huskins' abduction, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. The FBI then searched the cabin, 2 other residences, a vehicle, and a storage locker. FBI analysis of Muller's computers found a sound recording consistent with the instructions given to Mr. Quinn and Ms. Huskins, as well as video recordings of Muller sexually assaulting Huskins, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Muller pleaded guilty to 1 count of kidnapping in September 2015 in Huskins and Quinn's case, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Muller in 2022 pleaded no contest to 2 counts of forcible rape in California in Huskins' case, according to the District Attorney's Office. He also pleaded guilty to state charges of robbery of an inhabited dwelling, residential burglary, and false imprisonment. When was Matthew Muller sentenced? U.S. District Judge Troy L. Nunley sentenced Muller to 40 years in prison for Huskins kidnapping in 2017. The sentence imposed today reflects the egregiousness of Muller's conduct in this case. Muller had advantages in life that most people only dream of, yet he used his considerable intelligence to plan and execute the physical assault and psychological torture of two innocent strangers, Nunley said during the sentencing hearing. It is difficult to imagine the level of suffering that Muller inflicted on his victims, Nunley continued. The sentence handed down today takes into account that suffering and strives to ensure that Muller will never again commit such crimes. Muller's defense attorney Thomas Johnson declined to comment to the Associated Press after the sentencing hearing, where he argued for a 30-year sentence, as his client had been diagnosed as manic and depressive and could be rehabilitated with proper treatment. The 2015 FBI arrest affidavit stated Muller told authorities that he suffered from Gulf War illness and was bipolar. In 2022, Muller was sentenced to 31 years in prison after he pleaded no contest to 2 counts of forcible rape and guilty to 3 other charges in Solano County Superior Court. His state sentence will be served concurrently with the federal sentence. Where is Matthew Muller now? Muller is serving his prison sentence at the Federal Correctional Institution in Tucson, Arizona, according to the Bureau of Prisons. His release date is scheduled for July 8, 2049, per the Bureau of Prisons. He gave a Jailhouse interview to NBC Bay Area in 2018. Muller said he was married and also said he was not guilty. He said he pleaded guilty to the federal kidnapping charge in 2015 because he felt sorry for the couple. The display of mental health trauma for Muller is definitely shining through if this is indeed what he felt. In my opinion, this case had more losers than winners. What the police did to these individuals needs to have a floodlight shown on that department. I don't think there's any excuse for the way the Vallejo Police Department handled it, he said. That's why I thought it was worth it to take a dive and made sure they achieved justice for that wrongful accusation. He also said his guilty plea had to do with a severe depression he fell into while in the Sacramento jail. I didn't care what happened to me, he said. The Vallejo kidnapping case, along with other high-profile incidents, has undoubtedly influenced these reforms. These changes reflect a growing recognition of the need for law enforcement to evolve, emphasizing accountability, transparency, and a stronger connection with the communities they serve. Conclusion. In conclusion, the Vallejo kidnapping case sheds light on the critical need for reform in police procedures and attitudes towards victims. The journey of Denise Huskins and Quinn, fraught with skepticism and public scrutiny, underscores the importance of empathy, diligence, and open-mindedness in law enforcement. As we reflect on their story and the subsequent changes in policing practices, it becomes clear that accountability and continual improvement are essential for justice and public trust. This case is a reminder that in the pursuit of justice, every voice deserves to be heard, every lead explored, and every assumption challenged. It's a call for a more humane and just approach to policing, one that sees beyond the surface and seeks the truth with integrity and compassion. Matthew's arrest brought closure. However, the police department really needs to be held accountable for the way they handled these people. May healing and further justice come swiftly. What are your thoughts? Please share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.